Hello there, music lovers. Thank you so much for tuning into this channel. I wanted to talk about the set list that Yes, featuring Jon Anderson, Trevor Rabin, and Rick Wakeman have gone with for their 2018 tour. It just got kicked off, and I should mention before I get into this that they are still in Europe, and so they're playing to some places that they haven't played before, and I think they're still doing the set list that they have been doing for the past couple of years. At least I hope it is. You know, when they come to the States in a couple of months, I think they're coming here in August, I hope that they change things up. And so if they do, I'll make another video talking about what they wind up changing. But for right now, this set more or less is very similar to what they've been doing. So I have to take that into consideration here. But, you know, I just did a video about the set list that Yes with Steve Howe is doing. I'll put a link up for that. And, you know, I don't want to repeat myself a whole lot. You can check out the video that I did with Yes to find out in depth kind of how I feel about the whole thing. But just to kind of in a nutshell, you know, being that Chris Squire is no longer here, I don't think that Yes, the way we've known it and the Yes that we've known and loved can ever be again. Like, that's over. So it's a matter of which experience do you want to check out here? The one with Steve Howe and some other guys, Alan White and Jeff Downs and Billy Sherwood and John Davison, or would you rather see Jon Anderson, Rick Wakeman, Trevor Rabin, and let's not forget Lee Pomeroy. I don't think I've even talked about him yet on bass. Pomeroy is a great bass player. Now, he's a guy that I would watch. I'm not going to watch Sherwood a whole lot. I mean, he's cool, but Pomeroy is a great performer. I especially liked him with Steve Hackett's band. He's played with ELO. But he's done a really good job with ARW, as I'm going to call this particular band. And so, you know, I much prefer seeing a version of Yes, and I'm going to be very clear about that. This is a version of Yes. This isn't, I don't see it as really Yes for the reasons that I just now said. For a version of Yes, I have to have Jon Anderson, the original vocalist. I know there's some people that have a lot of issues with that, but hey, I'm kind of old school. I kind of like the guy who sang on the songs, who kind of made them his own because they were his. He created them with the rest of the guys, you know. So call me crazy for wanting to see Jon Anderson perform this stuff, all right? But I perform them, and it's not just him. It's Rick Wakeman. He's there too. And we got Trevor Rabin. Remember the guy who rescued Yes? Yeah. Gave them their #1 hit, you know, kind of put them back on the map. Yeah, him. You know, he's not Steve Howe. This band is not here to recreate Yes perfectly. The whole intent was to give it a new take. You know, they did a little bit of stuff with Awaken, which I said in the other video I wasn't too crazy about. They've made some minor changes to some songs, added some things in. You know, they don't see it as we have to faithfully recreate. If you want that, go see Howe. That's what Howe's going to be doing. Nothing wrong with that. That's the original versions, and that's how Yes does it, and that's perfectly fine. You just have to understand that ARW will be working it in a different way to do it a little bit differently. Okay, so this show just took place on June the 7th in Oslo, Norway. Okay, so this is the 50th anniversary tour for ARW. Now, they kick off the show with Cinema, which is a instrumental piece, and this was the name of the band originally when they got back in the 80s, before Jon Anderson came in. And if you want to know more about that period, I did an interview with Jon Anderson, which I put up. I'll put a link up for that. But Cinema is an instrumental that goes into Hold On, which is from also 90125. That was the first album to feature Trevor Rabin. And then we get to South Side of the Sky, which is a deep cut classic from the Fragile album. Always loved this album. Lots of dynamics in there, great piano piece. I mean, this is a great place for Wakeman and Anderson to really shine. I've seen All Good People, of course, that standard fare classic hit from the 70s from the Yes album, and You and I, that's from Close to the Edge, another great song from, in my opinion, the best Yes album that ever did, Close to the Edge. The big difference between these two bands, Steve Howe's Yes is playing Close to the Edge, this band is playing And You and I. Okay, that sums it up if you want to know. It says a lot about the styles of each of these bands and where they're coming from. Truly, what they picked from that album says a lot about them. So chew on that. Now, I do hope that ARW plays Close to the Edge. I think it would be awesome to see Trevor do something with that. But I don't know if they got the balls for that. We'll see. After that, they do Changes, which is one of my all-time favorite Yes songs. I love that song. I think it's probably the best Trevor song from his era, along with like Owner of a Lonely Heart. It's just, you know, I just love the lyrics. I love the changes that the song goes through. Perpetual Change comes after that. This is from the third album called the Yes album. It had Tony Kaye. Tony Kaye is the original keyboard player. He's playing with Yes for this summer tour. And he's not playing on Perpetual Change, though, which they're playing. I found that kind of odd. But this is a song that they also, the ARW version, or I should say the Trevor version of Yes, played Perpetual Change back in the 90s. They did it on the Talk Tour, I think. It's a song that Trevor likes, so that's why it's in there. Then they do The Rhythm of Love, which is from the Big Generator album, the second album that Trevor made with Yes. And then they do I Am Waiting, which is from the Talk album. And the Talk album is one of my least favorite Yes albums. As a matter of fact, it almost made my worst Yes albums list, which I'll put a link up to that. I did a video about the 5 worst Yes albums, and I tried to sort it by, you know, how many times would I go to that album and listen to it, like how many songs are on there that I actually like and how good are they. And so Talk almost made the list, but you know, I don't mind The Calling, and Walls is not that bad, and there's parts of Endless Dream that I also like, but I just think it's way too long. And you know, this song here is not that bad. It starts off nice. It's got a beautiful guitar part that kind of starts the song, but then it gets into this heavier piece that I think is out of place, and then they just get into some real obnoxious kind of chorus thing towards the end that I'm not really down with. I don't know. It's a love-hate with this song. I don't know. I think they could take this song out and put something else in there. I don't know what, but, you know, something. Then we get to Heart of the Sunrise, which is from the Fragile album. That's one of my all-time favorite Yes songs. I mean, that is just amazing, amazing song. And they do a really good job with it. And I've heard some people talk about how ARW has had some train wrecks. And yeah, that's unfortunate. I witnessed one of them on this song. I saw them in Durham, North Carolina. It was the 4th show that they ever played, and they fucked it up so bad they had to start over again. So I know what you're talking about, but I think for the most part, and I mean like 99% of the time, they just look very, very tight, and they look like they got their shit straight. Then we get to Awaken, which is from the Going for the One album. And you know, they're really focusing on the albums that have either Trevor or have Rick. They're kind of, you know, so this is from the Going for the One album. It's a great song. This happens to be, I think, Jon Anderson's favorite song. He shines on this. This is really Jon's song. He gets out the harp and, you know, just the way that he sings it and everything. And then the way that the song ends, it's just got a beautiful piece to it. Yes, with Steve Howe is doing it, but, you know, John Davison, it kind of reminds me of Adam Lambert going out and doing the Freddie stuff. I just did a video about their new tour that they just kicked off. I'll put a link to that. But it's kind of like that. It's like, you know, Jon does it the way it should be done, the way it was done, the way it's always been done, and to have anybody else do it, to me, don't give a shit. Then we get to Owner of a Lonely Heart, which was Yes's #1 hit, the one that Trevor Rabin wrote, and I'm going to put a link to the demo below if I can find it. The genesis of this song is really interesting. You know, if you hear the original demo that Rabin had, and then you read about how Trevor Horn kind of listened to it and what he picked out of it, you know, and then he could hear a hit, and then he kind of incorporated what he had been learning. Trevor Horn was becoming a great producer at this point, and so this was like a feather in his cap to do this song, and so it just came out just amazing. I think that Owner is one of the best songs that Yes has done. A lot of people will slag off Yes, but Owner was just a very cool song, and it sounded like Yes in the 80s. You know, if you're of the mindset that Yes has got to sound a certain way, whatever, but I think that Yes kind of went to a whole new level, and it paid off. And so after that, we get Roundabout, which is, of course, from Fragile. Everyone's heard that one. Love that song. That's a song that you kind of take for granted. You've heard it 1,000 times, and if you sit and really listen to it, I especially loved it when it came out in 5.1. I mean, you can just hear it, and it's just amazing. So, you know, my impressions of this band after having seen them a couple times is, you know, I was very impressed. I thought that they were very sharp, and they had a lot of energy, and I really enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed watching Trevor and Jon and Rick, and even Lee Pomeroy. The drummer was even cool. I enjoyed it all. When I saw Yes last summer with Steve Howe, I didn't get the same feeling. And, you know, like I said, I'm drawn to the original singer and, you know, and Rick Wakeman and that whole experience. So what is your experience? What did you think of this set list? What do you think of ARW? What do you think about this whole shit going on with Yes? You know, put it down below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Hit the subscribe button for more, and I will talk to you later.